Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm the Crocheteer and today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet a daffodil. Here is the daffodil we will be crocheting today, and it's a very quick and easy daffodil to make. We make it in two pieces, but both pieces are very simple. It's just a fun bit of shaping to get the kind of angles on the petals and the like, but yeah, very easy and quick, especially once you've made a few of them. So without further ado, let's get to the desk and start crocheting. To crochet this daffodil, you are going to need some yellow wool, some orange wool, a 3.5mm crochet hook, and a pair of scissors. You can use different colours for the daffodil, but I'm going to be using these traditional colours. We're going to start off by making the base of the daffodil. Here I have an example of the daffodil we'll be making, and it has red instead of orange for the trumpet. However, we're going to be making the leaf base, which are where the petals are. We're going to start by tying a slip knot. And we're going to do 2 chains. We're now going to do 6 single crochets into the first chain. That is a lot of single crochets into the first chain, and it will make the single crochets swirl around so we get a circle. Now we are going to do an increase stitch in each of the 6 stitches. So that means we're going to do 2 single crochets into each of the stitches. So I'm going to single crochet 1 into this stitch, and then I'm going to single crochet into it again, turning that 1 stitch into 2 stitches. Now I'm going to repeat that 5 times so we get back to the beginning of the row. Now you should have 12 stitches going around the edge. So now we're going to start on the petals. We're going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch, and then we're going to do 1 chain. Into that same stitch that we did the slip stitch into, we're going to do a single crochet. And once again into that same hole, we're going to do a half double crochet. We're now going to chain 2 and slip stitch into the chain second from the hook. So that's the first chain that we made. We're now going to do 1 chain, and we're going to half double crochet into the next stitch. So not the one we did all the stitches in first time. We're now going into the next stitch along. And now we're going to do a single crochet into that same stitch, and then we're going to slip stitch back into that same stitch. That gives us a nice triangular petal. We're now going to repeat that 6 times. So we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. We're then going to do one chain and single crochet into that same stitch. And then we're going to do a half double crochet into that same stitch. We're going to do 2 chains, 1 slip stitch. We're then going to chain and do a half double crochet into the next stitch. And then a single crochet into the same stitch, and finally slip stitch back into the same stitch. And there we have 2 triangular leaves. If you want to see the process be done again, just go back in the video and re-watch it and do it in the next positions going around, but I'm now going to finish off the other 4 leaves. And there we have all 6 of our petals. So now we are going to cut the wool. Don't cut it too long because we're just going to get rid of it in the end. And we're now going to pull that wool through the loop and pull it tight. And there are the petals of the daffodil. So now we're going to make the trumpet. For this, you're going to need orange wool. We're going to tie a slip knot. Now the orange wool I am using is quite thick, so my trumpet may turn out thicker than normal. If you're using a normal sized wool, then your trumpet will be proportional to your flower, and hopefully mine will be just as proportional. It is just slightly thicker wool. I thought I'd let you know. So for the trumpet, we're going to do 2 chains and then 6 single crochets into the first chain. This is similar to how we started out the petals of the daffodil. And now we have our 6 stitches going around that chain. So now we're going to increase in this row by 3. So we're going to do 1 normal single crochet stitch, and in the next stitch we're going to increase. So we're going to do 1 single crochet into that stitch, and then another single crochet into that same stitch, meaning we've increased. So now we're going to repeat those 2 stitches 2 more times. So we're going to do a normal single crochet, and then we're going to do an increase stitch. And then we're going to do a normal single crochet, and then an increase stitch. Now what we're going to do is turn the crochet inside out. See where the ring is? Currently it is sitting inside the dip. Well, I'm going to get my finger and push it so it's sticking out the other way, because we want this side of the wool, this face, which is the neat face, to be facing outwards so the daffodil looks pretty once it is done. So now we have our little cup which is facing the right way. We are simply going to do 2 rows, and you should have 9 stitches. So that is 18 single crochet stitches. And so there we have the main body of our trumpet. Now mine is a bit thicker, so as I say, my daffodil is going to have quite a thick trumpet, however yours will probably be more proportional. So now finally, we are going to make the frill around the edge of the trumpet. This really gives the daffodil much more character. So we're going to start off by doing a slip stitch into the next stitch. We're now going to chain 2 stitches and then slip stitch back into the first chain. Then we're going to slip stitch back into the first stitch we did the slip stitch into, and that gives us one sticking out bit on the end. I'm not sure what you'd call it, but it's the little sticking out bit. So now we're going to repeat that. We're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. We're going to do 2 chains, slip stitch down into the first chain, and then slip stitch back into the original stitch. Now we're going to slip stitch into the next one, do 2 chains, single crochet back into the first chain, and then slip stitch back into the original stitch. Hopefully you've got the gist of what we're doing now. If you want, you can go back and rewatch me do these 3 and just repeat them for each stitch around the daffodil. And there is the last sticking out thing on the end of the trumpet. So now we're going to cut this wool, but make sure you cut it nice and long. You want a good amount of this wool, because this is what we're going to be sewing the trumpet onto the petals with. So I'm going to pull that wool through the loop and pull it nice and tight, and then pull that wool down through to the bottom of the trumpet. Now I'm going to put the hook through the middle of the petals and pull the wool through the petals, and that will pull them together. Now, if you want to then tie this onto a stalk or anything, that will do sufficiently. However, I am going to attach it on a little more securely. So I'm going to pull the wool through the stitch to the side of the circle, and then I'm going to put my hook through the middle of the petals, through the middle of the daffodil trumpet, and then out the edge of the circle, and pull this wool through. Once you've pulled that tight, it attaches the trumpet on a little more securely. So I'm going to do that for each corner, or assuming it was a square, for each corner of the trumpet, and that will attach it a bit safer. So you can sew this however you feel like. I'm not sure how strong you want it to be sewn, but as long as it's not going to fall off, it will be fine. And now you can see that the sewing has been done. As I say, my trumpet is slightly bigger than yours will be if you are using normal sized wool, but it still looks very nice. So now all we have to do is get rid of the few strings which are just flying around. This is very easy. I'm simply going to weave the wool in and out of a few of the stitches, And then once you've done that, you can just cut the wool nice and close, and it will disappear inside the crochet. And for the trumpet, what you can do is you can just cut the wool nice and short, and then you can just pull the wool back through into the main part of the trumpet and push it down, and it will just disappear into the bottom there. You can also work it in and out the edges of the trumpet if you want it to disappear, but just pushing it in there is good enough for me. So there is the finished daffodil. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and if there's any other tutorials you would like to see me make, just put them in the comments below and I'll try my best to get round to them. So I hope you enjoyed the video and enjoy the rest of your day.